Oh shit. Oh hey, hi.
Hi, Ernie.
Wait. Where's my camera? Okay. Hi.
Hello. I should have a much better internet connection because I'm not in my car.
Okay. Okay. Nice to finally meet you.
You too.
Again, like for a second time.
Right. For a more official time. We have a lot of folks here who are super excited to see you. Before you hopped on, we were talking about all of the countries people are from. We've got folks from so many places in Europe, Africa, Taiwan, a few folks who are visiting Thailand right now who are on the live. So it's really exciting.
That's amazing. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for having me for this session. I feel so special, and we're gonna have a really much to talk to. I saw a list of the questions. It's gonna be a lot to talk about, and I'm so excited.
Me too. It's really exciting for me, and I feel very grateful to have the opportunity to chat with you.
Yeah.
And I know I sent you a lot of questions, and then some people were like, Laura, are you still accepting questions? But they were mostly repeats of ones that I sent you, so we're good.
Sure.
Norway, hi friends. So
Let me show you something before we start.
please.
Just something. You see this?
Yes.
Um, it's a dinosaur plushie that Bix gave me for my birthday like last year. So it's
So
like it's a
cute.
surprise, yeah. And Park gave me like little like turtle plushie as well. But I have it on my back at my office. So like they both give me like
Oh.
small plushie. We like to give gifts to each other, by the way, like you know. So I have tons of like turtle plushie like from random places that Park went to, and Biggs also have like random, like dinosaur monster plushie that we also like find on the like
Oh.
random stores. Yeah, and it's like, oh, this is just looking like big, and I just like bought for him, like yeah, it's so we have this kind of little like like tradition that we buy the plushie for each other.
I love that. I feel like people have, because I made so much content about your show, I had a friend who knitted me a turtle and a monster, and they're being sent to me. And another friend just sent me a little turtle charm.
Uh-huh.
So that's
That's so
happening to me
cool.
too, interestingly. No, I love that. That's so cute. Right. Oh, good. There's a lot of folks here. That's exciting.
Yes.
Speaking Thai. Don't worry, you guys. I already told Ernie that if there's merch, he needs to tell us right away.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, it's do you know like doing merch for a series like needs a lot of like
Oh,
technically it needs a lot of work like to put
yes.
into that. I know that you saw my little toys that I did like it's actually like a really like I have friends in a 3D like printers kind of like situation. So I asked him like, okay, would you do that for me like for a couple like dolls? And because I want to have like my own memorabilia like from the series, like, in any shape or form. So like yeah, we did that, and he gave that to Big and Power as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are so cute. That's how I jumped into Ernie's DMs and asked him because I was like, "Can I buy
Oh yeah.
those?" They're so cute. Ah. Um, so before we start to ask you about your show, can I ask you about being a fan? And if you are a fan of BL or if you have a favorite show that you would share with us.
Um, I'm not originally like a fan of like Thai BLs.
Hmm?
I have admittedly like like the show. I love Heartstopper.
Me
Like
too.
it had a special place in my heart, like Heartstopper. And
Hmm.
I also love like Red, White, Royal Blues. Like it's one of the great ones.
Yep.
And speaking of like being a fan, so I used to say like I'm always like a fan. I used to be a fan, and that's why I know like how fandoms work, right? So I used to be a huge fan of like superheroes. Like I still do like Marvel and DC stuff. And you know, when you're such fans of like superhero stuff and you only get interviews, and I'm lucky enough that I can understand English really well. And there's always not enough for the fans, like like the content. And then it hit hard for me when I stumble upon the Philippines BLs, which is like from the COVID era. They have that one BL called Hello Strangers, starring Tony Labrusca. And I just kind of like my boring days in COVID, like lockdown, prison time for me. And then I just kind of stumbled upon this on YouTube. I'm like, this is so fun. And it's like, it's a really fun storyline of like, they shot in like separate place and they have the actor shot himself because like no one can leave the room because it's like the COVID stuff. And I was so addicted to that shows. I was like, oh, I love this show, but I get the pain because I cannot understand like Tagalog. I cannot understand any single thing that they say out of the show. And like 80% of the clips and the content are in a different language that I can understand, and that hit me hard. Like, and I thought like, okay, if I have a chance to produce like a series for anyone, like I would do for the international fans as well because I know the pain. And like, and like I want to be happy. I want to feel what the fans will feel. I want to ship them really hard, but I cannot understand a single thing that they say. Can I swear in this live?
You can.
Is it appropriate?
This live is it's restricted to 18 and older, so you should be able to swear.
That is from the get-go. I was like, I'm gonna swear. I'm sorry for anyone.
You've seen my content. You know that's fine.
I've seen the content. Like I was like, it's fucking hard, to not be able to understand like anything they say. I only know how they act and talk and the nuance of what they do, and that's what I learned, that if I have a chance to do my own series, like I would make sure that the side content and everything has English subtitle like as much as possible. And for this series, I never tell anyone like outside the company. I proofread every subtitle, every single episode, and there's 2 episodes that I'm doing the whole English subtitle on my own because I want it to be perfectly aligned with the script that I wrote. So sometimes it get lost into the translation, like that nuance, that convey that I want people who wants to, because it's a fucking character driven story, right? And it's so important with communication in this show. So I want the subtitle to be like to nail it with the subtitle stuff. So I spent a lot of time proofread the subtitle for
one of those episode 11. Did you do the episode 11 subs?
Yeah. Like, I actually proofread every episode, but the whole the episode that I did by myself, like 10 and 12, 10 and 11, 10 and 11. The whole heavy stuff, like I have to be concentrate on it.
I love knowing that. Thank you for telling us, because we notice when subs are awkward, and sometimes certain subs are notoriously bad where it's difficult to understand even what's going on. But the subs were fantastic on your show. But one of my favorite scenes in episode 11 is the reunification of God and Diao, and the way they communicate. The translations are so beautiful. I mean, I sobbed through that scene because it was stunning, but it really means a lot that you were so thoughtful about it, because I think as a character-driven story, it helps us be more immersed in the story when we can feel as closely as possible when something's translated what the characters are saying. We all
because on that scene, I'll tell you, I tell you in DMs, right, that all of the fight scene and all of the reconciliation scenes and the sex, I wrote the heavy scenes for the clip. Like I wrote that like from the scratch, and that reconciliation scene from between God and Dio and 11 episode, it's so difficult for me. I have what I need to be done by the script. Like I know what I have to write, and I'm pretty like a fast writer. Like to not like a typical, because I know like what's going on in the story. Like I just need to like put it on words, right?
Yeah.
And I know what's going on by that fight scene, and that like usually I can finish that like real quick, but in that particular scenes, like I remembered vividly that I sat on my desk at office from I think like 7 p.m. Nobody's at office anymore, and I sat that and immersed myself into sad songs. Like I have a playlist of sad songs because I drive like my mental with songs. And that's like a trigger.
Yeah.
Songs. And then I stay there. I try to like squeeze it out from me, like how to like writing that scene, and I wrote it. And the first draft is shit. I didn't like it. It's too hard. And then I kind of like do that like in repeat like for so many times. And then I just kind of like, oh, I cannot force my brain to do it anymore. And I just start pacing around because I'm like a straight pacer. Like I need to pace, like, like I never stop. And every sad song, I just kind of like, and I call my mom, like, mom, like, I ran to my mom, like, I cannot. And then mom just like, just let you be sad. Like you be sad, just be sad along with the script. And that's kind of let loose with my. And then I'm thinking about pulling from my own experience, like, the kind of like fighting scene and stuff. And I start crying out of nowhere, like, for sadness. And I cry like that for like 2 hours, writing.
Yes.
And that, like, and I end up like finishing the script that only one scene by like 1 a.m. Like, just one scene. I spent like 6 hours like crafting that particular scene because I want it to be perfect. For me, like, I mean, it's so it's so important for God and Deal. It's so important to me, that scene, and I know that Big and Park gonna play it well, and I know that I know that they got that. So I need to do it at like my best part. So yeah, so I craft that with my blood and tears and 6 hours working. So just one scene.
I think that I've said that a good show starts with the foundation of the script, right? It's like it's very difficult to have a good show if possible without a good writing, and it's felt how it's felt. Yeah, absolutely. So, okay. So where do you want to start? I sent you so many questions. We don't have to go in order, but
it's okay.
I guess we've been talking about the writing process. Could you tell us a little bit about like what made you to decide to adapt this particular story? Because it's a novel, correct?
Yeah, it's a novel. It's called Godzilla Next Door. It's from Thai writers, and we own the IP for a couple months, and we decided like because we have like 3 producers in the house. And we are picking like which IP we should do, and I love this Godzilla Next Door, like the structure and the whole mood and tone of it. Like it's so beautiful and so fluffy. Like it make my heart like goes like like on the loving like Dovey loving mode, and it's a story of like the opposite end, like or the opposite attract. Yeah, and it's beautiful in my eyes, and it's like casual. It's like one of those snacks that you can eat like more and more and more and more and never get tired of it. And I love that kind of feeling that I have for it. But there's one like kind of concern about the novel. I'm gonna be honest with everyone here, like because it's a really slice of life based kind of novel. Nothing really going on like in the book, to be honest. Like like not there's a conflict in the book, and it's not major. It's not like it's not suitable to be adapted to be like a motion picture series. And I made a really risky decision, because what I did is like I ripped off the backbone of the conflict of the book.
Really?
And throw it away. And I developed the whole backbone, the new backbone. So, so the whole extrovert introvert thing stays, and the structure of like everything from the book stay, but just the main conflict in the book, it's not gonna be great in this time and day because the book has been released like 7 years ago, and it's I would say like it's not up to date. Like if I make that conflict right now here,
Yeah.
I would get backlash a lot. It's super stereotypical in a way, and I want to portray extrovert and introvert and love this trope so much as a human being, as true to human as much as possible. So that's why it's a very risk. And I was so nervous, like because like if I change around like 70% of the book, and I was so like nerve-wracking that am I gonna do a good job on this? Because like there's a lot of fans who read the novel version as well, and I was like, oh my god! Like I only have two options to make it the quality as like the same as the book or better. I only got two versions. I cannot make it worse, and that's why it drives me from the get-go that I need to make the script like as the as much as the quality as much as possible, right? So yeah, so
That's really cool.
that's the story of like the adaptation of this story. Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot, especially with a queer story where like the way those stories are told or tropes or is developing really fast in a really good way. And so things change and do need to be modernized, essentially, even if 7 years isn't that long, but also it's a really long time at the same time. So yeah, I mean, the whole comments are flying saying the risk paid off, essentially, because
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you so
because
much.
it's I think the conflict is really fun, and there isn't a lot of conflict. It's still you still got that slice of life, very much. Okay, so that leads into a question that people had a lot is that this show inspired on the English-speaking side of BL fandom a lot of really rich conversation, particularly around our experiences as introverts or extroverts. Was that surprising to you? What was that like for you to see?
It was phenomenal in the office. It was the only thing that we talked about like from the first week.
Yeah.
And we cannot get a good grasp like what's happening because like this story like I'm in producing Monster Next Door. The first like aim is to like, and the first and the priority is to get like a good grip of the Thai audience, right? Because we produce for the locals.
Yeah.
But we have to monitor for the international fans as well. And I'm always on like X, like Twitter and TikTok because I want to monitor all the stuff that we put on. And it's really it came to a surprise that like it sparks a lot of meaningful conversation in English with the international fans and the introvert story. It's really relevant to many fans in a deeper level. And it makes me so happy because that's my tears and bones and bloods that I put on the script and the production and everything. It kind of pays off, like I mean, like with you and so many more that dive into the story, and you talk about it and you fall in love and you hate Jane and you hate Dio for a second and you hate God and you fall in love with them, and then Mama's come and you hate her. And all of that paid off at the end. Like for me, it's like it's so surprised because like you only get that deep conversation with someone who really into the story, like and it's really well appreciated. I would say that in the office, like we didn't expect like the international fans to love the story like this much, like and that create like a ripples like of what we do next, like after that. Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. And I think there's a lot of hate for Jane in the comments. Guys, Jane had her growth arc. We should just hate on the vet. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, she got the small redemption part at the end. So yeah.
And that's to me, Jane and Dr. P, Diao's ex, are like interesting next to each other, right? Because he he apologizes, but from my perspective, it was very self-serving. And Jane had Diao say something to her that just hit her hard in the heart. And she took it in. And that's kind of how I felt when I watched those two characters. It does happen quickly, but not everything can happen slowly when she's a side character, you know?
Yeah. So if we're gonna talk about B and Jane, like in a way that it's like it's the same, you know, situation that happens, like, you know, from like it happened to Dios, and you're so correct, like, because like in the writers' room, like we want to humanize everyone, right? And not every relationship has to end like happily. And I know that Dio would stand up for himself, like, you know, like, because we craft Dio that way. And I know it's going to be so satisfying, like, for the audience and for you, for me, and for Dio himself to be able to stand up for himself and to get over this trauma in the past in form of this, you know, tight space together with the person who he hated the most. And he doesn't have to forgive him. And that's the gist of that scene. Like, I will walk away from you now, and this is the last of it. Like, I'm getting through this, and you're not gonna be the ghost in my relationship anymore. Like, I want that to have that end. And B, he doesn't get to have that authority and that right to have a happy ending on my personal opinion, because like what he does is like so fucked up in the past, right? And he's not a good boy, and he doesn't he don't deserve he's an asshole, and he don't deserve what he did. And ending like that, I think like it's perfect for me. Like, you know, not every relationship has to have a good ending. Yeah.
No, and not every character deserves a redemption arc. I think it was a good storytelling to tell, like, you don't have to forgive people. You don't have to try to, like, figure that out. Some people just hurt you and they don't get a place in your life anymore. Yeah. I really liked it. And it was really, you know, I felt like it was a very well written, bad apology. Like, I watched it and I was like,
yeah,
this is a terrible apology, you know, and I didn't believe it. But I think most of us have been on the other end of an apology like that, where it's just crap, you know. It was very real, and Diao was not having any of it, which I loved.
Yeah. You know, like most of the like poor script, like it would have turned out like, oh, I forgive you, you forgive me, let's give it a hug, and then we move on. Like, I think that's not it for Dio, because it is who he is. Like, B is one part of Dio's life, like whether you're gonna like it or not, and that's a bad part, and he doesn't have to accept it. And then I think it's beautiful that he stand up for himself. Like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Just stop talking. You should make an action, not speaking to me like this. Like, I think it should be that way. Yeah.
And someone just shared in the comments, and I saw this in the comments of my videos that I wanted to share with you, that for some extroverts, seeing him and the way he treated Diao gave them really helpful information about how to relate or not to their introverted friends. Like, his characterization gave people pause to reflect on their own behavior, which is really neat, right? I just think that people are doing their own reflection and growing as a result of seeing the different depictions of these characters, which is that's magical.
And that is something that we have to like walk on eggshell and in the writers' room as well, because like we have to admit, I'm producing a story about a stereotype, right? I'm making a story about introvert, extrovert, ambivert, like, you know, and I cannot please everybody of my version of this stereotype. I know that from the get-go, and Dio is not representing all the introvert out there, like, you know, he's not. But I'm trying my best to make Dio as true to human as possible. I would say, like, and also with God as well. Like, God, like all extrovert is not like God, but I want to make God lovable and like humanize him as much as possible. So it's like really walk in eggshell. And I'll tell you this, like it's me, the writers, right? And it's there's my script doctor. Her name is Kristen. So Kristen and me is the opposite polar
Oh,
in the
really?
right room. I'm like 95 extrovertness. Like I do the MBTI, I got 95 on E. So that's far end of the extra. Yeah, I am like I'm God, like in a way. And Kristen is like the far end of the introvert. Like she's extreme introvert. I believe she get 90-ish points on the I side as well. And we have this perfect balance in the writer's room. Like she will be representing the whole like introvert like mindset, how it's gonna be, and I will representing, and we banter all the time, because like how it is, and it's so fun to work with her. It's so professional, like to be able to learn, like if all the writers are introvert, it's not going to be good, and if all the writers are extrovert, it's not going to be good. And we have this like perfect balance. Like every time that we like I told you before, like in my videos before, that I have that golden Bible to write the supposedly the like imagined situation that characters will go through, right? So we will throw out like many situations that what if Deal would do, what if God would do, and we will play along. And then the most interesting thing is when I play as God and she will play as Deal, and then I say let's switch. I will play as Deal and you will play as God. And then I will know how Deals feel and she will know how Gods feel. And then we talk about it, and then we repeat the same process. And over we switch places like all the time. And that's why we came up with this rounded kind of like world of these two characters to live in.
I don't know that there's a better way. It's raw. It's pretty vulnerable to role play, because that's what you're talking about, is like put yourself and be the character for a minute. But I don't know that there's a better way to learn about another perspective than doing that. That makes total sense that it helped.
I saw in the comment, Kelly said that's such a playful process. Yes, it's playful, and it takes me at least 7 hours to do that per day to do this for one episode. So yes, it's playful, but this tech is consuming time. I'll tell you.
Full time job. So there was a question when writing for the show: was there discussion and a conscious decision about which stereotypes you were hoping to address or dispel in the story?
Great question. From the get-go, like Kristen and me made a pact that we are bored of making a female representative in BL's series a bad girl, like a villain, a sorry, like we're tired of that. And it's always gonna be that. It's always gonna be ex-girlfriend. It's always gonna be like bad mom. It's always gonna be a really like, I would say, like miscommunication in a way that we paint women in BL series as the bad guy. I don't want that in my series, and it shouldn't be like that, right? Because I don't want a gay guy to be a bad guy in a GL series as well, because I don't like that. And then and then that's why we craft mom that way. We have Jane redemption arc, and we have Bill as a friend group, and that's why like we pay so much homage and contribution to the female characters in the show. And it's already just 3 people versus like a whole bunch of boys, so it's easy for us in a way to like to make that characters not 2D and to be more rounded characters. And especially like for Jane, like in the book, Jane is like 2D, like ex-girlfriend kind of badass girl, and she comes in and she yell at Dio, and then she's just like peace out and bye bitch, and that kind of stuff, and I don't like that. And I think she has to have layers. And you know what makes Jane like this? And maybe she's getting this from like her bad friends. You know, like, and it
Yeah.
sparked conversation with me and Kristen. And you know, like, and we dive into like, and also with Mom as well. Like, because Mom is kind of the last boss of the series, right? I don't want Mom to be that so pushy and you know like, oh dear, you don't understand me, or you have boyfriend, and you know that kind of stuff. But I want to give Mom like the depth and the background as well, like to for the audience, to open the audience's heart to, you know, being a mom is really hard, and sometimes you can make mistakes, and sometimes there's no manual how to raise a kid, and that's fine. And you can make mistakes. Everybody in the series can make mistakes,
Yeah.
and that's fine. And that's what we aim to do with
Yeah.
the stereotypical characters in BL. Yeah.
You know, I had, you know, a lot of people in the comments are like, that mom is triggering. And she was, but usually I said recently on TikTok that if a character is triggering, it usually means it's a well-written character because it's getting under my skin. But as a mother and a woman who's a fan of BL, I love what you're saying because I related to you a lot, and she felt like an interesting, well-rounded character. It's also very refreshing to see men and women be friends without any weird sexual undertones. Like they can just be friends. That's lovely. But it was interesting to watch in the scene where she softens in the last episode and essentially apologizes for not treating Diao the way he needs to be treated. And it was beautiful to watch because he needed her, right? And she didn't know how to show up for him. And the way that it was tangled up in both of their grief for the loss of a husband and father. But also there was some interesting discussion for some of the elder fans like me. I'm about 10 years older than you. Who are like, man, we're never going to get that. Because it was beautiful to see. Like, I hope that people get that, but not all of us do. And so in a fantasy story, it was powerful the way that it was written because it wasn't perfect. They weren't going to get over it and be perfect. It was like, we're going to work on this and try together. So good.
Yeah. And that scene, I tell you about the drama. I think this is a fun story to tell you and your fans a lot. We have three dramas, like three kind of tear-jerking scenes in scene. Like I would say the first one is in episode 9 where God kind of like spill over the line. You know, he wanted to be a good boyfriend and he overstepped. You know, like. And he treat Dio like a baby, and that's kind of triggered Dio into that like insecurity mode, like, oh, am I repeating P mistake again, and yada yada. And then when the reconciliation comes and in the waterfall, which is beautiful, by the way, I love shooting that scene, yeah. And at the first draft is after we fight, to be surprised, like that, and that the first draft of the script, like Dio and God are gonna have like that, and they're gonna have like a really huge fight by the waterfall. And then I looked at the fight in episode 11. I was like, no, they're not going that way. And then I kind of like play along, and that's like a quite hard scene to write as well because like they need to have that fight in order to understand more and communicate more, right? To find a balance between like God and Dio in episode 9. And way before shooting, like we start production by March of this year, March of this year, 2024, and I knew Big Park way before that, like because we cast him last year, and we had like a like late meal together with me and Big Park. And I said to them, like, way before going into production, like, do you have any, like, are you afraid of anything? Do you have any concerns for me that I should know? Like, everything you can open about me. And one thing that Big said to me is, Earnie, I'm sorry in advance, I cannot cry. Like, I cannot. like I cannot cry. I've been in so many series. I cannot do it. It's like it's one of my nemesis. Like I cannot cry.
No.
You need to know this. You can lower expectation in drama. Like I and that time, Park kind of chimes in and it's like, oh, I also cannot cry as well. And it's like, oh, okay. Okay, and I was like, why? And they stated their reason, like and like Big said something along the line where like I just cannot. I don't know why, and I don't know the reason why. And Park said to me that maybe I'm overthinking about like crying and didn't come out,
Yeah.
So I reassured them that in on production it's okay if you can cry, it's best, it's wonderful. But if you cannot, don't worry about it. We have so many ways to shoot. We have so many props to be able for you to, we have acting coach. We have everything prepared for you when the times come. So don't worry about it yet. If you cannot, just be fine. It's okay. I'm not gonna yell at you. It's okay. And this is like, and that's just like come naturally. And then when we shot the scene by the end of the episode 10, you remember how we kept like God kind of go right at the wall, and he saw DL and B, and then God cried. And what happened that night is we shot so many drama scenes like in the afternoon, and that nearly at the end of the day, and then we have Park and Piming who plays B, right, the actor. We have Park and Piming stand far away over, like it's just like in that shot, like to just like in the shot. They didn't put on a mic, they didn't hear anything, they just like be there for the shot. And we want to take Big first. So in the script, it doesn't say anything. It's just like God come here in this point and saw B and DL together, and he start to having a really panic attack, and that's it. And it's on the script. And then I said like, okay, let's go. Are you okay, Big? Okay. And Pi Kung Fu, the director, said, yeah, action. And then Big kind of go into that mode. I was like, oh, this is great so far. This is what we want. And he started to have that dramatic, like, sense of like, I know when actors getting into the characters, right? And then I saw that wiggling in his nose in the monitor, and I held Pi Kung Fu's hand. I was like, is he coming? Is he coming? And we don't need tears in that scene because it's not written in the scene. We don't need tears in the scene. And I whispered to Pi Kung Fu, was like, and I started a lot like, do we need tears in this? Like, and Pi Kung Fu just like, let him roll, let him be.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of like have the camera like freeze like in front of like Big's faces.
Yeah.
And he started to cry, like real tears coming.
Our hearts.
Like, and I just like, what's going on? What's going on? And this is the magical moment. Like, once in a lifetime, like, it's like he starts crying, and tears hasn't dropped yet, and I see it's coming, it's coming, and this getting red, and then Pi Kung Fu, the best director I've known, he knew what to do. You know what he does?
What?
It's fucking genius. He yelled like so loud at Big. We have so far monitor, and he yelled, "Do not cry, suck it up." He said,
Oh no!
"Do not cry." And you know what happens?
Yeah, he cried.
He cannot hold it. It just kind of break down, like Big breaking out, and Pi Kung Fu yell again, like, "Suck it up." And he held that a soda can, and he has to put that, and he has kind of bite it down because he wants to suck it up, like as he was told for the director. And we nailed that beautiful scene, like because he has to suppress all the crying feelings, but the tears running down his face already, and all the pain and everything. So that's amazing. I was like, this is what is happening right now, right? And one of those magical moments. And when Big is just like God, and when he is when he's smiley, he's the brightest like guy on set. And when you see him cry, it just breaks you, like
Yes!
it breaks you. Knowing him as big and knowing him as playing God,
Yeah.
it breaks you, right? So when we freeze the camera, and we let him be there for like I think like 4 or 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and then he just like walks off set like on his own, and Pikachu just yelled cut, and I was like, shit, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I know that Big needed like someone to talk to because it was so unexpected.
Yes.
And I ran to Big, and he just like stood there, confusing. Like he just stood there like, and I was like, and I grabbed him by the shoulder like, what's going on? What was that? You told me you cannot cry, and what was that? And he was like, I don't know what's going on. Like I don't. It just and tears keep coming, right? And I was like, okay, you good. This is the best take that I ever got. We might not need to use that on production, but you did your best today. And I hugged him tight because I want to console him. And then he's like, okay. I'm like, you did good. You're amazing. And then I hear a loud footstep behind me, like someone's running behind me. And I let go of Big Hug, and then I turn around. It's Park, running like as fast as he could, and jump on Big and just hug him. And Park, to my surprise, he's crying, like balls out, like I never seen Park cry like that. And I thought it was like some emergency thing going on. It was like, what's going on? Are you hurt? Are you okay? What's going on here? And Big has stopped crying. And Park kind of balls out. And Park doesn't... He says something that I cannot understand. Like, I was like, calm down. What's going on? What is this going on?
Yeah.
And he just like, I don't know. And Park, and we calm down and it's like, Park, tell me what's going on. Why are you crying? You don't have to cry. You just stand there to be a prop for me and you have to cry. What is going on? And he told me, and this was so cute. He told me that I don't know what's going on because I have to turn back. And I know that P-Big doesn't have to cry in that scene. But when he heard P Kung Fu yell, suck it up, he knew definitely that P-Big is crying. And then he kind of connect with him in a spiritual level somehow. He knew that he's crying.
Yeah.
And he's so proud of P-Big that he finally break his he grew up as an actor.
Yeah.
And when he sing that in Standing Still, he cried because he's so proud of P-Big that he was able to break this curse of he was not able to cry anymore. And he's so indulged with Dio because he knows that he doesn't want Picot to see him with P. And that's the amalgam of like feelings just gonna break him. And it's so bizarre to to witness that. And I was like, this is what kind of day it is. And then it's just like, okay, and then we cut, and then we reset the scene, and then we shot like Dio and P. And then P-Big is kind of stand beside me, and we just talk about what's just going on.
Yeah.
And then Big asked me like, okay, P. Ernie, can you explain the fight in episode 11 for me? Because can you explain in details of what would God thinking or something? And then I start explaining what's going on. Like, oh, okay, on episode 11, like God, like he wants to be good, and he is angry, and he's upset with himself. He failed, and I explained everything that's going through God's mind, and then as I explaining, I'm crying, like tears running on my face because I was so into characters, and I didn't know what the hell was going on that day. And P-Big just like, why are you crying? What day is this? And it was so stupid and amazing in one day, and that's the day that I would remember until the day I die. Like it's so amazing.
Well, and I think it speaks so much to the Big and Park's chemistry and a lot of people, that was really clear there, that some of the scenes felt so natural and comfortable with the way that they were together in their slow everyday parts of their relationship. Some of my favorite scenes were the scenes where God was tickling Diao, and they were just like that comfortable intimacy, so well done and so natural. But crying with people out of empathy is such a sign of heart-to-heart connection and comfort, right? Both for you, for them, and it's really a powerful experience. So it really, to me, some people said in the comments, it speaks to the comfort and safety on set that people were able to be in those vulnerable spaces. And we had some questions I know that I sent you about the chemistry and casting. How do you can you tell us a little bit about the casting? Were you I would assume you were involved with that, and how did you think about chemistry? And I'm curious too about Cade and Ole. Can you tell me how to say their names?
Kate and Ole. That's really
Ole.
tight. Kate, Ole. Yeah.
So
So the casting process is it's really amazing journey. We found Park first. Because like Deal, we prioritize Deal. I believe like we are prioritize Deal characters first because like we believe that it's really hard to find because like.
And he's sort of the
boy.
lead. I mean, he's the central part of the story. Yeah. That makes sense.
And Dio has like the one who played Dio has to get that acting skills really well because like it's layered characters, right? It's like so much stuff going on in Dio's head, but not body, but not here, right? So it's really hard. That's why we prioritize like casting Dio first. And we went through a lot of like male actors, like teens, and we couldn't find. And then I think like on the day 4 of casting, like Park comes in the room, and then he did what he did, and then when he left the room, me and the executive producer and the country manager and everything, we turn around chair like in The Voice, like we turn around the chair.
Yeah.
And I said, we need to lock down this boy. We need to confirm this boy. I don't care how many people waiting outside the room. I'm not fighting anymore.
No,
Let's end the casting process. We got Deal already. We need to secure this boy as fast as possible. Like because like the thing that it stands out in the casting room from the get-go, because like we cast so many talents, right? And we don't have time to explain to them what we are looking for, right? We cast like hundreds of people. But Park comes in a room. He's the first one and to stand out that being an introvert is not being scared, being covered. It's not being covered. It's not being, shy. It's not being timid. It's being human with different personality. And Park did that in the casting. And that's why we picked him. Because he doesn't interpret introvert people as like coward, shy, and always scared all the time, and like stereotype typical like process making people like think of that way, right? So he's one of the one who stand out in the casting room, and then when we get Park, and then we say like okay confirm Park, and then it hit me that Park is 180 centimeters tall, 180, which is basically 6 foot, right? I think like
that's how tall I am.
6 foot. Shit, how are we gonna find God who is taller than him? And then it's like, oh God, and we just kind of hold our hands like, we're gonna find God for you, but I don't know how long we're gonna find him because it's so fucking hard to find a handsome boy, like athletic build, really good at acting, and 9'2" for you. I don't know how people like. And then Big comes into the casting room.
He's
and I was like, I think we got already. So can we nail down this one?
Yeah.
And then we have chemistry, like couple castings. So it's the first time that they met each other. And it's so the picture is perfect. So that's why we came about like God and Deal.
Yeah.
And that's for me. And then Kate and Ole, as we get Kate first as one because of the same thing. I think one, despite like his like outrageous personality, like like always shouting, he also has in later on like you see him right. He has the complexity like of the jealousy and everything. Yeah, at the friend zone that he had put on. So I think like it's gonna be hard. So we have Kate introduced to us and like he's gonna nail this part for sure because like Kate is actually so different from Wan like in real life, but when he embody like Wan like being that oh no God were you letting me like that, when he do that it just like speak to me. So we get Wan and then we get Beer the last, we get Ole the last. Ole stands out in the cast room where he doesn't afraid to do improvisation. He doesn't afraid to do things that he think Beer would do. And that kind of sparked joy in me that, okay, I think Beer would do something like that. But maybe like something like that. So yeah, so that story of how we came about these 4 boys.
That's so cool. And I know you've heard me say that I love how Beer was written because he has my same MBTI.
Yeah.
And the balance of his like caretaking and emotional, he was really kind of that part of their friend group in a lot of ways, was really well written. If I can project my own personality onto him, which of course I did. But that I do, I do want to ask you.
We all do.
What?
We all do.
Exactly. I mean, that's part of the fun is, especially in my favorite character-driven drama, is to relate to the characters, right? That's what makes it so fun. A lot of people are commenting, Park in particular, they're complimenting his performance. And I think there's a lot of introverts in the comments right now talking about how powerful it was. And this was true for me too, because for some reason, almost all the people in my life are very different from me and often introverts. And how he wasn't shy, right? That was so clear. He's just likes to be alone. Like he likes quiet. But he isn't shy and he isn't, what's the word? Like, oh, guys, help me. He isn't like afraid. Yes, exactly, Kelly. The show gave him space to be himself. Right. And that was really real. And then the way that God's character saw that, right. And just instantly valued it. He was like, oh, I like this person for who he is. And I think so many people are saying it was healing to see that an introvert be treated that way, as opposed to the way his ex treated him and how relatable that experience was. He does have strong boundaries. He knows who he is, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's what we want to get out there. I mean, like, I'm saying again, like, we are doing a story about stereotypes. So I want to represent the best, like, and we are doing story through DL, right? And I know that a lot of BL fans are more like towards the introvert side. So I don't want to fuck it up for the introvert fans, like,
You did a good job.
Yeah.
And also, I think it was really clear, I hope that most people don't view characters as like needing to be a perfect but what they are is a great representation of that experience. We might not all relate to them exactly, but when I saw God walking down the breezeway, that shot, and he's like, hey, what's up? And he's saying hi to everyone. I was like, oh yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's me too.
When I go to work every morning, good morning, hey, it's just, and not everyone's like that, right? So yeah, it was, and then those kind of shots with the MBTI, which I want to talk about the MBTI if you're not too tired, to start with the tone of who the characters are. Can we talk about the MBTI and how you decided to use that? Because I would love to hear about that.
Okay. I'm gonna be honest. So
Please
okay,
do.
I'm gonna be honest here.
Okay.
In the book, there's no MBTIs.
Yeah.
There's no MBTIs. It's just stated in the book that God is very extrovert and Dio is introvert. And then in the early state of development, I think with the team, oh, maybe it's not enough, representing just introvert and extrovert. It's too, bipolar for me. It's, we need more stuff to talk. We
Yeah.
need talking points, right? And then someone came up why don't we do MBTIs? It's it's fits right into your story. It's like, okay, let's do this. And I am not an MBTI person, to be honest with you. This is where I knew a lot of MBTIs because I was working with a lot of someone who is really into MBTIs. Like my assistant is really into MBTI, and she's
really?
it's been pouring MBTI into my ears
By
for 2 years.
association.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah. And then it kind of engraved in me in a way that I knew MBTIs to the core because I have to listen to her talking about MBTIs. But to be honest with you, I'm not that into MBTIs from the get go. And then but I decided we should bring MBTI in the story. And I turned to my assistant and she said I told you so. I was like, yeah, you're right. I was like, okay. And then I dive into MBTIs, and I think in terms of writing, it's a genius tool to craft a characters, by the way. I mean, it's really a shortcut in a way. If you don't have to think of anything. You just put a random MBTIs and you just kind of create a character from that.
Yeah.
And we have kind of a solid ground of basic structure of, here's an E there, how much an E of he is going to be, how much of an N is going to be. You can start off from that. And I found that along the way that it's really easy for us to jumping off from MBTI standpoint. And what's so interesting is Kristen doing a character analysis along the way. So she paired everyone in the show together with MBTIs and see what is conflicting, who is going well with who and who is going well with what. And that leads to the scenes where after the concert where deals it with game and God is with Deal is with win and God is with game, where they banter about use protection or something. And
That scene.
that came from the idea of what if we pair different MBTIs together? What should we see?
Yeah.
And I want a light-hearted scene after the whole drama thing. So that's when we came about when we need scene to be more interesting and comedy, right?
Yeah.
So we look into MBTIs what crashes together and that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. So that's how it came about.
I like how that scene is the only moment where God gets shy. In the whole show, it feels that's the moment where he's like, bro, it's so funny. That was great. And I loved Game's ferocity, how fierce he was with it. He's like, I'm not letting this go.
yeah.
It was great. And I think people are saying in the comments too, the use of MBTI as a shared language and framing device, essentially about the characters, made it fun and interesting. And it gave us as fans a way to talk about the show that was fun and interesting and different. And I think there's so much crossover in BL fandom with K-pop fandom, right? And K-pop is heavy on MBTI. I'm like you. I think it's fun to know what mine is. I do relate to it, but I don't put a lot of stock in it, and nor is there a ton of science that supports MBTI. But I think the power of having a shared language, right, to discuss the characters made it really interesting, fun, and super innovative.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And awesome. we did character analysis by I'm doing MBTI as God, I'm doing MBTI as DL, you know, like to like on the process of making script, like we often go back to MBTI test and okay, now I'm playing as game and what game would do, and that those questions in the test kind of helps us a little bit to understand the character as well. Yeah. And so I'm saying it's just like a shortcut in the writings.
Yeah.
So like okay, maybe Gil just like answer this way, like something like that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. To get to that role play, right? To get in their head, to think about how they're thinking makes a lot of sense. Can you tell us, I'm trying to look at my questions. I'm doing great on time if you are. But I want to know about production. Like what is it? What do you do as a producer? Let's see. What is your role? And what can you tell us about like pre-production, creation, and what it's like to be a producer? Because I've seen some behind the scenes where you're on set, right?
Yeah.
Were you on set all the time? Tell us about that, if you could.
I was on set all the time, every day, and I was in every step of the way in Monster Next Door. To answer your question, it varies, like which company you're working for, which studio are you working for, and also like who are you as a producer as well. Like it's really flexible in the way of working of what you will do as a producer of the show. Sometimes because the title of producer is really vague,
Yes.
in a way, right? Some producer do everything like me, but some producer doesn't do anything, like, you know, just like oversee things. Like I'm working for VTV to be frank. Like I work for VTV. I'm the employee of the VTV, and they hire me to do BL stuff, and they have like they gave me the best opportunity to be flexible in my work. So it's really up to the producer to choose how much you're gonna go into your project, and I choose 1000% on that. So actually, like we have like a producer from the studio from Gong Tap Production, and you know, like I don't have to attend every cues, every shooting. I don't have to be present in the writer's room every time. I don't have to be in the editing room every time. But it isn't a requirement, but I want to make sure that every step in the way, it's like it's supervised, to be honest, like, you know, like, because like I care so much about this project and I want it to be the best in every angle. So like, but I tell people that I'm gonna step in every way, and it's the first agreement that I have with every team, that Earnie gonna step in a lot in every fucking process, and I'm not gonna be the cruel, you know, like client that I don't like that, you go say no. I'm not gonna be. I'm gonna talk with, you know, reasoning and everything, but I can't be strict, because like this is like I do care about, like, you know, what kind of stuff. And then the first thing to go in this project is like I talk to every team and everybody and every players in this whole spiel that I'm gonna step in a lot and I'm gonna be with you until the end of this. So bear with me for a year, and this is how it turns out. Yeah.
Well, it shows. I mean, the show was just carefully crafted. I'm the number one fan. I'm gonna take that spot.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put myself in that spot, Earnie.
Yeah.
So, you know, we talked a little bit about international fans, and there's people just saying, just to interrupt, to say thank you for being here with us. Like, people are expressing a lot of gratitude for that, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm really happy. I can do this. Yeah, I can talk about this for as long as you want.
I have to take my kids to the pumpkin patch in about an hour.
Okay.
So we're gonna do that. But I wonder, like, now that you've seen how international fans can respond to a Thai production that you've been so heavily involved with, like, how might that shift or come into your thinking? Because we know the first fans are Thai fans, and then I like to call myself like a guest in your culture, right? Is that I get to come in and be a fan of Thai shows, which are my favorite as a BL fan personally. So now that you see that there has been at least a very enthusiastic international fan response, how might that come into your thinking as you move into your next project? If at all, it's okay if it doesn't.
It's a great question. It's like it's difficult to, because like I'm not working alone in this project, right? So we have like a marketing segment, and we have like operation, and we have everyone's on board. And to be fair, like our priorities is the locals audience,
Yeah.
audience. And we have that practice that if it's blooming, it's bursting with fame and everything in Thai, that's gonna lead to the international fans like automatically, right? So, but what happens with Monster Next Door, it's quite the opposite. Like, it's exploding in the international fans first, and then just kind of draw in like more Thai fans into the series. And it's in reverse. So we learn new practice from this as well for the marketing teams, that maybe like we have to change our paradigm. Like, I mean, to look into ways to make things for international fans, so on for this, like, and what value that we could do, because like, but to be honest, like this Monster Next Door we air spontaneously with Gaga Ulala, right? So it's like you in Europe, in America, like you can choose to watch like VTV or Gaga Ulala. It really depends. And then we learn from the practice as well, like, okay, if we do that, the outcome from international fans going to be like this, and the Thai fans going to be like that. So we have it in our reports as well, like, what should we do next? And I'll make sure that my next series, that I'm always going to incorporate like international fans, English subtitles, and side content. If you see side content from Big and Park, like, that vlog, that he's like, I think like the first one is the makeup vlog, I think, and the makeup tutorial vlog, and the big, like the doggy park kind of thing. Like, I suggest them that I will do the subtitle in English for them, because I want the side content to be able to reach the international fans. And and that's how it came to be for our practice from now on.
We appreciate that. And I don't think, at least the people here, and I'll speak for myself, would have zero expectations of ever being thought of first. Like, I think part of the magic is being a guest in your culture and being a fan of Thai shows. And so it is, but it is also at the same time, just, it tickles us. We're so excited when things have subs or we can be a part of, because we are so grateful for fan translators. There are some of them out there that exist who just feed us information, which is wonderful. But it is really neat to know that like the folks who are first line part of creating that content are making the subtitles. It's
because I was suffered before for the Philippines BL, so I learned from that.
I need to go back and watch that one. I'll let you know when I watch it, because I haven't seen it.
It's really cute. You should go watch it. Like, it's really cute.
And I also think it's really interesting the way media and production teams and actors were so creative doing things like that during the pandemic. Dan Levy did a show sort of like that. I can't remember what it was called, where each part was shot individually in their own houses, and it was really good. But the way that the pandemic impacted art, essentially, is like an interesting micro moment in art. I really appreciate that. And I did subscribe to WeTV just to get the episodes early.
Yeah. You told me if I see a spike from the North American, it's because of you. Yeah, I give you full credit for that.
Okay, I will watch it, Kelly. I promise. Kelly's yelling at me. I have to watch that BL that Earnie mentioned. It's so good. Okay, I'll watch it. Okay, let's see. Oh, can you tell us about your experience being in front of the camera? Because people were really curious about that. And I know you talked about it a little in your videos, but
So when it was on set, like I think like on a like third day of shooting,
yeah.
and Pi Kung Fu just like he sit beside me and in the monitor village, right? And
Yeah.
he said like, Ernie, do you want to be in this too? Like, want to be in what? Like in this show? Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, be in front of camera. Like, how? And he said like, you should because you're so involved in this project. At least like be in front of camera. You choose. And like, am I choosing? And I was like, you choose for me, Pi Kung Fu. And we just kind of like laugh it off. I don't think I thought that he was joking. And then another day came and the assistant director hand me the script. And this is your part, P. Earn. I was like, what am I seeing right now? It's like
You weren't given much of a choice, it doesn't sound like.
You got to be the MC, you got to be the announcer. Like, am I an announcer right now? And I was like, okay, you are. Like, okay, I got the part. I was like, okay. I'm like, I'm happy to do it. And I was like, okay. And then it's Pi Kung Fu that who nudged me into like, you should do this. Like, go ahead. Being MC is fine for me. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
easy
I see
peasy
that
for
someone
me.
in the comments said it was like your Stan Lee cameo moment.
Yeah. It's Stanley cameo moment. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. It was really fun, especially because you engaged with us. And then we were like, oh, there's Ernie when you came on screen. So that was really exciting. We were rooting for you for sure.
My mom's like, not you again. I was like, okay, I'm in the show.
And Kelly just said, you were the correct extrovert for the job.
Yeah, to be honest.
Yes.
I don't have to rehearse. It's just like just imprinted in me that it can be an MC. I was like, okay, I'll just go. Yeah.
Truthfully, I could probably do that too. Yeah, personality wise.
Right? It's
Fine.
like it's unlikely.
Sorry, I'm reading comments. TikTok sometimes filters them.
Oh.
Okay, what are we missing? Let me look at my questions real quick, okay? We're doing a great job. Oh, I really wanted to know about this. Back to writing. Oh, thank you. Is how do you, as writers, convey nonverbal cues or behavior in the script, and how does that get taken in or used by the direction team?
Great question. It is so it's first thing is it depends on the writing style of the screenwriter, right? So some writers just put many action lines and doesn't write any emotional lines into the script.
Okay.
I came from novel like media. I read a lot, like like fiction, non-fiction, everything. So I use a lot of depiction kind of words in the script.
Yeah.
So when I write script, like I often state clearly and in short like what its character is feeling in that before they say something. And just like it's like minor tonation and that kind of stuff. Like I always stated like right before the dialogue that what is the current mood and tone and what's going on here, what's the inner dialogue for it helps the actors a little bit. But it has to be the right actor who wants to work in this way as well. Like I'm lucky that Park and Beck understands how I write. Like I mean because like some actors doesn't want the writers to kind of lock down the emotion that they have to play, right? Because like it just kind of imprison the flexibility in the creation of like the acting part. So
Yeah.
it really have to know each other in a certain levels that okay, if I write this, are you good with the script or something like that? So in my part, I often write like, emotion, what they're thinking before saying the dialogue. For example, like if Dio is so shut out from his mom, I will write like a long ass like 2 sentences about like okay, this is what going through Dio's mind. He's having a panic attack, but he doesn't want to say anything. He's getting angry. His hands are wet. This kind of stuff that indicates like a really clear structured
Yeah.
in a way that is like clear acting in the script to be able to convey that nonverbal cue to the actors. Yeah.
I love that. And I think, it's hard for me to imagine. I mean, I'm not an actor. I've never acted, but there is Kelly in the comments has a lot and is a theater nerd. And she's saying that she loves those things and she likes reading scripts. So I just can't imagine just being given just dialogue with no other scene or tone kind of notes. I feels like it makes the story rich, but that's really interesting for me to know and understand.
Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't. We don't have time to write all the emotion in the script. So what happened is like the actor just run up to us and ask like, what should I think? What would you think at the moment? What would God? It's gonna be big coming to the directors and us and like okay, P Kung Fu, P Ernie, what is God going through his mind right now at the moment? Can you tell me? It works both ways as well. Yeah.
How much, there was a follow-up question in the comments, how much, given that you wrote some more of that direction, how much room was there to shift or improvise for the actors?
Oh, a lot. By the portion of that like emotion structured, I often put it on like a fight scene, reconciliation scenes, and those heavy scenes because I want to nail the direction of the conversation, right? Because like when you fight, it's not always like up, right? It's not always like a hit. You have to have a dynamic, like someone has to step down. Like for example, like in the mom scenes, right? Like when they reconcile at the windows, right?
Yeah.
So you don't see mom yell back at Dio because it's the moment of Dio. And mom is sad as well. She's crying, but not crying like crying balls out and weeping. No. So we have to do that in the script as well to balance the dynamic between two. So I often put that like emotional notes like in the heavy scenes. But for comedy scene, like normal scene, we just write like dialogues and let them do whatever they want because they understand how it to be like the characters. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Kelly's complimenting the way that scene was filmed. It was really powerful. And I haven't said anything about the directing because I don't know anything about this process. Like everything you're telling me is new. I know nothing. And I'm just like a fan. I'm like, well, I love this. But there are definitely some shows where I notice how the shots are beautiful, like the framing, the use of light. And I think that this show was beautifully shot. There were some... So is that the director who sets all that up, I'm assuming. I guess I just want to pass along like my compliments around that because it just immersed me more in the show. How beautiful so many of the shots were. I do think the framing of the shot where where God is crying is really beautiful. The use of light. There was like a fair amount of purple. Yeah, and Kelly says you felt the feelings more. And that's exactly right. Like every step feels like it was done to take us through an emotional experience. And that's why I love character-driven stories because you're on an emotional journey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have DOP, like director of photography, to thanks on the cinematography part. His name is Pitun. So Pitun is the one who in charge of like crafting the looks of the scenes. And he's doing a beautiful job. So, like especially with the drama scenes, like when dramas, like, we need to get into the emotion. That's why we use like close-up shot a lot, like, get into the face, like, to see the details. And we're so lucky that we get the mom. Her name is Pikai Prani and Suprani, and she's the best. And she's actually Park's idol on set, because, like, as I said to you, Park has a really hard time to cry, and that mom scene, he cry his balls out, like, it's because family and mom stuff, it's so relatable with everybody. It's like, no matter who you are, when it comes to family issue, you got the gist in your heart for sure. And Park just like, and that's the epiphany moment for Park as well. Park did that scene for just only like 3 takes, I think, like that crying scene. It's amazing. And he just cry, and that's emotional scene. And Pikai, who plays mom, just like embrace these like the mood and tone. And then we yell cut and we get the scenes. I step out of the monitor room, and Park just like jumped to me and hugged me, because like, and he said to me like, I finally did it, Pierre. Like, I finally did it. I can do it. I believe in myself again. I can finally do it. Oh, I'm such a relief. And because like he was so pressure himself about doing these like drama scenes, because like he's so afraid that he doesn't do it well. And this is the first time he felt the completion, the act completed, in the sense of being an actor. Like it's a stepping stone of, oh, I actually can cry in front of camera in Dio's like perspective, and that's beautiful moments. And because like he often have to go in a scene with Pikai, who play the mom, right? So the mom, Pikai, is really talented actress. She is just so talented. She's just so talented. She can like turn on and off like the tears, like tear duct, like, Pikai, can you cry for me right now? And 1, 2, 3, and she's just like balls out. It's like, this is amazing. You're just like robot. I'm sorry, but you're just like robot right now for me. It's like because like she's been in Thai drama for like 40 years, like more than 30 years, and there's a muscle memory already. And Park just look up to her as an idol, like, oh, I want to be like you, like I want to be like really good as you. So it's really like comfortable, like people and talent on set to be able to be vulnerable, as you said, and that's when we get the best like take, when we get the best job like out of these characters.
That makes sense. And that the actors it's so lovely to hear about how you cared for them and how they came to you for that care, because I would imagine, and I think I'm confident that I'm right with this, Ernie, that because of that comfort and care, they could write exactly what you're saying. I do want to ask you about the NC scene, the first one in the tent, mostly because you didn't mention it as a scene where people cry, but I did, mostly because I imagine that if I was an actor, I would have an easy time with crying. I am just real comfortable with crying. And the scene was so beautifully done, and the build to their intimate connection was so beautifully written that I cried because of the emotions conveyed in the scene. They were overwhelming in a really good way, right? And I'm curious what it is to write a scene like that, where there really is no dialogue, or very little, and how the set is created to pull that off, because you really pulled off magic. Big and Park pulled off magic with that scene. It was so, you totally forgot you cried, Kelly. It was so intimate and beautiful and meaningful, and such a beautiful way to convey the characters' love for one another. And I don't think that's done that well very often. So I'm curious what that was like for you, and the actors on set, if I can ask, and share what you're comfortable with, obviously.
Someone said that in the comments, I was yelling at them to turn the light off. Yes, I didn't know about that until someone commented, like, you put on a shadow show. I was like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming. Like, it's already okay. Yeah. It's funny.
It makes Beauty's behavior the day after even funnier, though.
Yeah, and like I was in like I direct that sex scenes. And and to be honest, like there's not much going on in the script. It was just the action lines, like God's like grabbing Dio's ankle and then he kissed him, like those kind of stuff. But in a way of doing the NCs, I it's kind of funny, by the way. It's not like fluffy as you might imagine. It's like a dancing, a choreograph.
That makes
Like
too much sense.
yeah, like I'm speaking for the both of the 10 scenes and also the scenes in 12 episode 12 as well.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, Big, listen to me, nah, Big, you listen to me. You on top, kiss, and you count 5, 6, 7, 8, park, and you let go, and then you swap, and then you kiss, and 5. It's just like choreography, like to me, and it's like, but I direct him, the mood and tone, I would say.
Yeah.
I told like Big and Park
Yeah.
on the ninth episode that I want Big to be the lead of the intimacy.
Yeah.
Because like he wants to be in charge and Dia would let him do so. So Dio can Picard can be like assertive, in the sense like he's gonna lead Dios into doing things like more of like in charge of the in bed, like I want that mood and tone, but everything has to be tender, like everything has to be pure,
Tender.
smooth and tender. But for the episode 12, I want it to be equals. I want Dio to want Scott as equally as God wants Dio. So that's why like you see like Dio with small kiss. And I love that about like doing NCs, like if we can talk about it, like I mean, so many NC scenes, like sex scene, like in past a couple of years of BL industry, it's 80% of that is like throwing the explicit scenes, like
Right.
tongues and shit, and like pounding and everything. It's the
You're right.
yeah. And I don't want that. I said from the start, like we're not making that kind of story because it's not aligned with God and Dio, with the
Yes.
story that we craft, right? And I cannot imagine like God's pounding Dio, like it's like it's really stupid to do that to the show. Even if I have an authority to say so, right? I can say that okay, I want an explicit scene. You have to do it for me, but I don't think it's gonna be suitable for the story, right? And then it's like so I want it to be tender, and especially for the episode 12, I said to the team that I don't want them to take their pants off. I just only shirts off, but I want the scene to feel so explicit,
Yeah.
to feel like so porny, like but nothing shows porny, nothing indicates porn, but it feels so intimate that you just like, should I watch this? Should I? Yeah. And I think I did that. That's why it's 5 minutes of like heavily kissing and tender and being yeah. So
Well,
that's why.
and the two scenes felt different to me. Like this is a first time exploring this type of intimacy together, very tender. And then this is like, we've done this. Like we know each other, we know each other's bodies. It felt like there was a shift very much in line with the relationship. And the reason why I love that first scene so much and I cried is because it was exactly in alignment with their characters. And that's why it was so good, is because Diao isn't hesitant. He isn't. He's ready. And there was explicit consent, which we love. And it was beautifully written in that sense. But it was that perfect, again, example of this introvert not being shy.
Yeah.
He wasn't. And there was also a center on pleasure. And I think that that's really important too. And that so much in BL, we sometimes see scenes like that don't convey pleasure for certain people and don't convey consent. And so to make a scene that had both of those things and was so tender and intimate and beautiful, big in part, I'm so impressed, especially hearing you describe just the kind of mechanical nature of the choreography, and then we get that out of it. What? It's wild.
Yeah. I just let them do. Yeah, I just let them do what they capable of. It's just choreography, like big on top, count to 4, and then park 1, 2, 3, and do slide down, and then do and it's like remember this. It's just like a dancing, and this is kind of okay, and then just kind of do it. And
they did a beautiful job. That's a tough job. That is not easy to do. I can't imagine. I've put myself in that and just and I've heard other actors talk about, well, you have to make sure the angles are right for the camera and the kissing and stuff. I'm like, oh man.
Actually, that's true as well. We have to do what is called like the blocking shots.
Yeah.
Where like you have to end up here, your face has to be here exact moment because like of the lighting that we adjust and everything. So it has to be kind of that day. But we leave like a little bit of privacy to the actors as well to feel more comfortable. So normally in the room, if we're shooting, there's around like 20 people. But when it comes to sex scene, I kind of like, can you please, anybody who doesn't have anything to do with this, can you just like step out of the room? Yeah. So when it comes to NC, it's only gonna be around like 6 or 8 people.
Okay. Only
with restriction zone.
Just 6 or 8. Oh
just
man,
6 or 8.
It's really impressive. It's really impressive. I mean, their performances are incredible, and that's just one piece that was beautifully done. But there's a reason why I think we're enamored with the show, and it's their performances are amazing, and Kate and Ole as well. Like their scenes equally, really different feeling in terms of the development of their relationship, but also very much in alignment with their characters. And I think the comparison there is, thanks, Kelly, is really beautiful. Ernie said there's no season 2, guys.
I'm sorry, there's no season 2.
Western fans are always like, more. I'm like, guys, this isn't really. It's a completed story. Be happy.
I think it wouldn't be good to do season 2, don't you think? I mean,
I agree. I don't personally crave a season 2 with this show, and that's because I think I got what I wanted from it, in the sense of like, this is a beautifully complete story. As the viewer, I went on that journey. The journey was beautifully told. I don't have a desire, and for me as a fan, to be able to have the tension happen in episode 10 instead of what we've, I don't know if you've heard us say the episode 11 curse is what we talk about as BL fans, to have that happen in 10 so that we could have time for it to be resolved and not feel rushed was really beautifully done and like so appreciated. And so I don't need that because it was so satisfying. It was like when you finish a book and you close it, you're like, I was like that. Not that I won't look for fanfics, Ernie. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I tease you about fanfics. I'm no stranger with fanfics. I read a lot of fanfics, to be honest with you.
So do I.
And I am no stranger with AO3. So, like, I know what's going on with you guys. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you a funny story. Like,
Hear it.
I have my intention, like, while writing the final episodes, like, in on production, that I might write the book, Midnight Solitary. Like, the book itself, like, that has been referring into the story. I want to write that because, like, it's gonna be a really good, like, journey for me to be able to explain it, because like we based Midnight Solitary from the book Midnight Library, right? And I don't want to to have that solid reference. So I think I as well as like write the book for me, but it's gonna take a lot of time for me to do that for sure, writing the whole book. And then we mentioned yesterday that, oh, I might write fanfic. And I think like fanfic would be easy for me because I know the character so well.
Yes.
So I have an idea to do fanfic. So yeah, wait for it.
So you just need to tell us, or do we need to obsessively watch the tat? Just promise you'll post it on AO3, okay? In English.
Sure. Yeah. I'm not promised when, but I think like fanfic would be justified with people who want like season 2 or special episodes, or like, you know.
Yeah, Kelly just said if you write it, she'll read it. Kelly is she's not a big fanfic person.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm glad you understand. What is Ernie's AO3? He doesn't need to share that with us.
Not yet. I'm not telling you yet. It's like you asking me like my browsing history.
Exactly.
Because
I'm like,
I know AO3 for people is not like you know, I got some dirty stuff out there, like, you know, I know my shit, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. So
I talk about fanfic on the internet a lot, Ernie, and I don't share my AO3. Only my friends know. Like, you guys, I'm not putting that out on the public internet.
yeah, I'm not.
Come on now.
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, please let us know. No pressure at all. It would be very fun.
Yeah, I will let you know.
Very fun because I have read at least one Monster Next Door fanfic, but I haven't checked in a while to see if it's ticked up at all.
I haven't read anything yet. Like, Kristen sent me like there are like 3 fanfics. Like, you know, you should check it out. Like, that's why I know. Like, oh, there's fanfic already. So like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
And I checked only when the show I think was about half over, so I haven't checked in a while. But so I'll have to go back. I'll look today. Okay, I want to finish up on if there, you know, the last question. I think we did a pretty good job hitting points of most of these. Now that everything's complete, I have 2 more questions. Sorry. Now that everything's complete, is there anything that you would go back and change or adjust in this? It could be the show or the whole experience. Like, what have you taken away or learned from this?
I've done pretty much everything that I expect myself to get it done, but there's one thing that I would go back to do. I would do more justice for Jane. Like, to be honest, like, you know, because we have the version of more crafted Jane. Like, I know that you guys don't believe like the redemption with Jane on EP 12. You do. I feel tangy about it because like, how we use the word flip, like how we gonna flip Jane like so convincingly for the people, because like I love Jane. And I know that people like Jen is out there who love to project herself into people because in a way she wants to see the best version of herself on other people. And sometimes I'm one of those people. And we have a draft where it come like complete circle with Jen, you know, characters like, you know, she has that arc, but it's not a story of Dio and God. You know, like it's overshadow, like, you know, gods and deal conflict and everything, like, you know. And if we do a full circle of Jen, people are not gonna like it because anyway, she's not like God deal be a one, you know. So we decided to like have Jen that way in the story. But if I have more time, maybe I can squeeze in some, you know, a full circle with Jen as elements or acting, you know, into some small scene that I could get. Yeah, and I think that's it. And one more thing that I could go back and fix. In the book, there's one dog called Charcoal. That dog, like you have, you see like the brown dog, is actually a puppy in the book. And I want like puppy doesn't do well on set, so like, okay, we just have a grown ass dog and That's not,
That's funny. Oh,
yeah.
God. I think what was I gonna say? Shoot. I think that Jane's story could be an excellent fanfic. Just saying. You want to write it or someone else in the comments? Because exploring her thought process, and I'll say the reason that I believed her redemption is because of the actress's, I know, Aura GL, of course. My friend B is a huge GL fan. We're like, where's the Jane and Bew GL? I'm just throwing it out there. Anyway, but when Diao said to her, like, you're just, when he just hit her in the chest with that, like, boundary and reflects it, and that actress's face, the way she felt that and conveyed her micro expressions was really powerful. And so to me, it's that performance that made it believable that she changed, because she got slapped in the face with that. I mean, it was rough. And so because of her performance, it's clear why she would take it in and see, her whole idea of Diao just flipped. She just flipped it on its head, and she understood, I think, why God was so into this man, because he's awesome.
Yeah.
So she changed herself, That's what
the actress is doing really well. Her name is Pimpet, and Pimpet come from like theater background, so that's why she has an amazing talent in acting.
She was really good.
She's really easy to work with, and she's super nice in the real person. Like Pimpet is really super nice, really contrasty to Jane.
Totally different. Okay, my last question before we're done is, I saw in your Instagram stories that you posted a picture and said you were in a casting.
I do.
What can you tell us?
I have more projects coming with WeTV Originals. Okay. I've been doing this project for a year, I think, like alongside with Monster Next Door. And it's gonna be announced next week, my new project. And you're the first one who you are, and 100 people watching this, the first group of people that know that we're gonna announce something next week.
Oh, thank you for telling us.
It's gonna be a different flavor, and it's gonna be with the studios that you have known for making BLs, and it's gonna be fun, and I think you're gonna love it.
I'm so
as much as I do, and I'm super excited to talk about it. I have suppressed the information for a year, and I cannot talk to anybody. And finally, next week, I can talk to everyone.
Okay, as a fellow extrovert, I know how torturous that is. When you're like, oh man, Ernie, that's really exciting. And Kelly said in the comments, and the comments are flying, like, you're stuck with us, Ernie.
it's going to be fun, and I'm gonna give you the best time. It's gonna, one thing that I can tell you, it's gonna be so different from Monster Next Door.
Great.
In terms of genre.
Ooh. Okay. Total departure. And Kelly has said that you have been adopted by 100+ aunties and uncles. So many of us. So thank you. I will go live with you anytime. This is such a joy. You're so fun to talk to. And thank you for understanding the enthusiasm and pain of international fandom. And for being here with us specifically. We're going to show up en masse to support you. We're really excited about it.
Thank you. It means a lot to me, and I really do like. I would love to take this time to to say to you, Laura, as well, like, to be like to be the hub of the community, and to be the one who kind of I would say, like, the center of like the whole thing, because like I'm saying this to you in DMs, but I'm gonna say it out loud. Like, the reason why I'm doing these breakdowns, like, episode, because of Laura. Because like I've seen you doing podcast like 19 minutes, and it just brings up something in me that the first thing is like, shit, can we do 19 minutes on TikTok now? And that's kind of like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. And I always wanted to do like a breakdown scene because like I'm so in this production and there's so much interesting stuff that doesn't get these information that I was talking to you for 2 hours, like I want to get it out there because it's fun to talk about. And
So
I
fun.
always like watch like the bits where the Hollywood stuff like doing these like director breakdown scene, producer breakdown scene. I want to do that to my stuff as well. So after I watched your video, I was like, okay, I might as well do this as well. So like you are the reason why like I'm on TikTok, by the way. So it's like because I didn't know because like I'm finding the community, like where is the community at for the international fans, and came surprised to me that it's in TikTok and it's with you, and it's like okay, I might join and jump in this ride as well. So thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you for watching my long TikTok. And I just need to shout out my friend Yoshi because I was in a BL slump, and Yoshi knows me really well. And I was like, Yoshi, what's the one show I should watch right now? And he said, Monster Next Door.
Oh,
And I was
thank
like,
you.
okay. And then I was like, Yosh! And then I made a 19-minute TikTok, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Ernie. And I did ask you to come on my podcast that I share. So I don't care when we arrange that. We'll figure it out, but I will DM you about it because we will be able to talk some more with Kelly and B, and it will be really fun. So thank you.
I love to.
Yay!
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, you probably should get to bed, and I'm gonna go to the pumpkin patch.
Okay. Best of day, Laura, and best of the day for everyone who's watching now. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you everyone so much. Thank you for your insight. I just want Ernie to have an opportunity to read comments. They go so fast.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, they go so fast. I don't. Oh, people stay for 2 hours.
They
Thank
did.
you.
Lots of people.
ขอบคุณครับ ขอบคุณนะครับ Thank you so much for staying with us.
Yeah. And I'm going to do my best to get it up on YouTube. Bye, friends. Bye, Ernie.
Yeah.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
again.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.